Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 2nd of March, 3/2/26 at exactly 8:44 in the morning. Soon to be 8:45. Time goes quick. As you may or may notice, I am trying to do my best to stay in a positive mode and be a lighthearted host of the events that are going on around me while they are extremely traumatic and very difficult to discuss. I tried to do my best yesterday and over the last weekend to discuss my time in prison, but unfortunately, without someone next to me, I wasn't able to do it. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a bit better, thank you.
For anyone that doesn't know, and Jamie probably won't announce it, so I will. Jamie received some documentation over the weekend that really put her in a state of depression, and she actually had a fever for the majority of the weekend, which really is, it really goes to my point that a lot of the physical pain that we go through or put ourselves through that manifests itself through a cold, a flu, a weakness of some sort, an ailment, is really rooted in the metaphysical and a state of mind that is truly affected to a point that their physical state is out of balance. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Would you agree that the reason why you became ill and are in the state that you're in and are not on camera, nor are you a part of anything to do with YouTube, nor anything to do with any of my legal filings anymore?
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons, or the
Yes,
primary
100%.
reason of why?
For sure. 100%.
Would you say that you have been affected significantly
Yes.
and emotionally?
100%.
Would you
That would
say
be an
that
understatement.
you're in a lot of pain?
Absolutely.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing funny about pain. And human beings who choose to go into a courtroom while claiming to be a victim and at the same time laugh at the person that they claim to be the victim of cannot possibly be taken serious or expected not to feel the ramifications of the end result of the actions, because the way a human being acts in court is truly indicative of circumstances. Now, many of you who are watching this can say, well, you're a complete animal in court. I will say that's not true at all. I'm actually a very cordial, calm, and normal person until my adversaries or the judge or the court decides to break the law itself. That is a trigger of mine that makes me go extremely radically upset. Not that I do anything that is defamatory, nor have I ever lashed out physically. I'm constantly the victim of being bullied through cognitive psychology by being surrounded by law enforcement officers of the court that are with guns and badges, while my adversaries are free to say whatever they want. I am constantly looked at as the agitator and some sort of a violent person, when in reality, I have never in my entire life lashed out at a single person, nor have I physically assaulted a single human being unless it was in a matter of extreme self-defense. Is that well said?
Very well said. You're not a violent person. You're a very kind person.
Now, thank you for saying that. Quick disclaimer once again. Nothing that I say in these videos is directly or indirectly meant to be disseminated to anyone who has a court order that is designed to silence me so that I cannot speak to them. I respect the court. I do not respect the nature of the order because it is based on fabricated lies. Human beings who choose to avoid other human beings do not have the ability to simply ignore them and flip the switch after spending a quarter of a century in a relationship with them and at the same time having a mutual interest such as, small, minor children. And in the best interest of the children, it would not make any sense for two human beings to not be able to communicate. But alas, when given the circumstances and a choice of option one, would you like to amicably resolve your issues? Or option two, would you like to waste everyone's time and money by endlessly going into court to get the same result, which is that you have destroyed your children's childhoods, you have destroyed your children's memories, you have destroyed absolutely everything you can. And when I say you, it is a joint effort between adults that are not able to amicably resolve their issues. No matter how many times I try to express the fact that I get sent an email one day stating that my wife's attorney wants to resolve the issue, I sent an email back, And not only did I send 9 emails saying, hey, why are you guys not responding, I was then instructed and told that I'm not even allowed to communicate with these people somehow via some weird bogus court order. And that in itself is a violation of rules of professional conduct, the entire due process. Furthermore, the basis of the lack of communication is non-existent. I did nothing, nor has Jamie done anything that's defamatory, insulting, harassing. Is that true?
Yeah.
And the issue is that they are so afraid of being served with the lawsuits and the paperwork that they need to be served with, that they have invented a cockamamie story that is perpetrated via court orders and supported by this very channel being morphed and utilized as some sort of a reverse engineered proof that I am insane. Rather than looking at my intellect and how well I've adjusted to the extreme trauma of both having my children kidnapped from me, being assaulted for almost a decade, being a victim of dozens of crimes conducted by the people that you trusted the most, I have reverted to a state of positivity. I am calm, I'm coherent, I am constantly filming content to show that unless I'm some sort of a revolutionary drug user, I assure you I am neither drunk nor on drugs while I film any of this content, and I am not a drug user. I have stopped significantly smoking cigarettes. I quit for a little more than 1 day. I was only able to last for 1 day, but I did cut down my cigarette or nicotine intake by 75%. Is that true?
Yeah, I can't believe you did it so fast.
Well, one thing you need to understand is that until I get my kids back, it's virtually impossible for me to actually quit cigarettes.
Yeah, I can understand. It's very stressful.
I hide many things, but I can't hide the pain that I'm in as a direct result of the kidnapping and the unlawful taking of my rights as a father. My children were not kidnapped in the traditional Savannah Guthrie national audience type of kidnapping. What I believe happened was even worse. It was a premeditated set of circumstances which involved a conspiracy of adults that orchestrated the alienation and the separation of the children prior to my wife's plan being enacted, which is setting me up, having me falsely arrested, and while at the same time saying that I'm a good father, going into a police station and inventing lies. This is my First Amendment right. I have a right to defend myself in a public space. I am not saying anything that's defamatory. I'm not saying a single lie. I'm not saying anything at all that is wrong or factually incorrect. And the reason why this is so important is because when human beings who are speaking the truth, and it is extremely important for other human beings to listen to it so that they are not at the losing end one day of one of these conflicts, and they recognize exactly what needs to be done. Say what you will, but this could be a playbook of how to handle the most stressful moments in your life by Dan Reeses. Now, I'm an absolute expert at resolving conflict and crisis. As a matter of fact, the word crisis can't even exist without me. My last name is embedded with a little c in the beginning so everyone could see clearly exactly how to resolve the crisis. I'm a corny, white dad. I am who I am. But what I am not is a liar, nor do I invent stories to change the facts. The facts are the facts, and the end result is the end result. And what I am is nothing more than a reflection of the truth, and my goal is to wrap up the morning segment of basically discussing a few subjects. Number one, I'm going to tell you what movies that I'm making in real life right now, and once I've concluded with that, the episode will air. The episode that will air will include a series of references to these 5 movies. The first movie is This Thing On? You have to watch the movie, you have to understand that there's a 26-year relationship, and it's just a coincidence that Will Arnett has 2 boys, and his friend at the comedy club is named Dan, and the comedy club is the very same comedy club that Matthew Rose and I visited when we were children, and we were told, if we can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. Literally, not figuratively. We watched Dave Attell, we watched some of the greatest comedians in the 90s, and we were 16 years old, if that. The next movie is Going Clear, a Scientology documentary about the prison and the cult system, but in reality it's about tax law and the only structured litigation and fighter that has ever beaten the US government, which is the religion of Scientology. I am not sucking Scientologists' digital dick right now. I am discussing the value in understanding tax law as it's applied to whatever you choose to do. When you're dealing with something as complex as very, very large scale strategic litigation that is rooted with a base of real estate and true businesses, not frivolous litigation that is based on, well, I'm suing these people because I don't like the way that they made me feel or they ruined my reputation. That is not the basis of my lawsuits. My lawsuits are designed to discuss the validity of the income that was earned prior to the actions of my enemies and the loss of income as a direct result of the actions of my enemies. This is exactly what the court is designed for. Now, the next movie is going to be Let's Go to Prison, starring Will Arnett again. So we skip Will Arnett from Going Clear unless he's a Scientologist. And then we do Arrested Development. And Arrested Development obviously features Will Arnett. And then we have obviously Back to School. The reason why Back to School is that I need to constantly be grounded into the reality of why did you just spend 3 years going through one of the most arduous litigation processes imaginable, all to end with nothing more than, hey, now I'm ready to stand up. I was always ready to stand up, but people need to understand that when a human being has his back against the wall and they don't have the proper experience and knowledge to make the most accurate and successful decisions mathematically, there's nothing that could be done with the losses that I've had to sustain while I was learning the legal system. Going forward, I will not sustain a single loss. I will guarantee you this because I will not engage in a single conflict where the merits and the facts are not overwhelmingly on my side. Please recognize that if you choose to go against me, the majority of what I'm showing is only limited in scope, and my goal is to address the court to have a venue based on a small amount of information, and then the rest of it gets revealed once I have the discovery of the other party. Litigation strategy is not illegal, it is fully legal, and to use for lawyers who are inferior and do not have the legal mind that I do, to utilize and misuse of venue to gag me so that I can't discuss the litigation strategy that truly is at the heart of all of my actions. And it's sad that you are all so afraid of the truth that you'd rather silence me than to accept the reality that I will beat you either in the shadows or in the light. But your option of hiding in the light only shows just how dishonorable you truly are. And when I say you, I'm talking directly to the attorneys involved that represent the parties and are taking money, which I believe is blood money, and they're taking money on behalf of human beings who are extremely upset. They are driven by emotion. They're not thinking clearly. They're not thinking in the best interest of their children. And the attorneys are greatly benefiting from this through a massive financial windfall. And once again, am I the only person in this entire thing that can say, hey, look, there are human beings that are in conflict, but neither one, myself nor anybody in my family, ever got paid money to be in the family. The lawyers are paid money to be a part of the conflict. So to turn to them to look for advice is really paradoxical to their entire business model, nor will it make sense based on the actions that they have taken to fuel a fire that has already been blazing for years prior to my filing of a restraining order. Now, the final movie is going to be the name of the actual title, which is Now You See Me, 3x+1. There are 3 versions of Now You See Me, 3 iterations. What I want to say is that I will be watching all 3, and then the 4th one is going to be the one that I'm making right now. It's a little bit funny, it's a little bit complicated, but in reality, it stems from the truth, and the truth is I am not lying. And once you realize and accept that very, very scary notion that I have been only silent for 3 years, all due to the fact that I had to truly study the system. I had to understand. And I guess a part of the education was 31 days in county jail, which not only is a low point. I will discuss first the zoomed in version of the last 7 days, which ended last week. I was only released last week, right? I was only released last week. And I will also talk about the entire 4 times, which is 31 days. And then I'll talk about all 6, 7, maybe 8 arrests that I've had to endure. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering how can this be happening, please recognize that the crimes are actually the misuse of law enforcement and having me arrested, not me committing the crimes. I assure you, I have a very good attorney, and the facts are the facts. No matter how well I speak on YouTube, and no matter how much I am able to litigate and think my way out of it, when you're dealing with criminal allegations, you can't avoid basic fact patterns and digital evidence that has already been recorded, disseminated, and is in the hands of both prosecutor and my attorney. This is why I'm so confident in my perception of the outcomes of what will happen. It is not that I believe that I can lawyer my way out of it, talk my way out of it. It is because the facts are 101% on my side. This is why. Not because of some weird business transaction where I'm paying an attorney an exuberant amount of money so that attorney and I can coordinate a well-crafted lie that for some ungodly reason is accepted as fact without actually investigation into the facts of the lie, nor is the other person given an opportunity to respond via something called an ex parte order, which apparently only is allowed against me. So I'm not allowed to actually file an ex parte order, nor are any of my emergent orders ever heard. So for anyone that's wondering, do they believe that being separated from their children is an emergency? And if they answer no, there's something mentally wrong with these people. In my opinion, that even one day of unlawful separation from your children is a horror. Having 8+ months, and God knows how long Ms. Resnick has not only been horror, it is a forever traumatic experience that I will be forced to file additional litigation to express just the pain, sadness, sorrow, and general grief that I have to face after spending a quarter of a century doing nothing but taking care of humans, only for them to turn around and do some of the most sadistic and illegal things imaginable to the father of Drake and Pierce Reeses for nothing more than being honest on YouTube. And I guess Jamie is somehow being blamed in all this as well. But the reality is that we are adults, and human beings that are adults need to take personal responsibility. And I will continue to say, good morning, boys, I love you. But what the adults in this town have done is so flagrant, technical foul. There's no way to describe it in any other way other than what you're about to see throughout a vignette of movies that I will film throughout the day, as well as making sure that I'm fully compliant in all court orders and release orders, because no matter how much I disagree with them, my complacency and my cooperation is the way I rebel against the system. I am a part of the system. I am a big part of the system. I believe in a unified system of good. There is no human being that can do that and go against the system at the same time. That being said, I will take a small break, and then Ms. Resnick and I will go through the schedule of what happened when I was in prison, and that will be the introduction segment for today because it's only 9:05, so it's a little early. I am at my wit's end with the lack of cooperation and how quickly I could have resolved all of these issues had I not been stonewalled and removed from my office over the last 8 months. My name is Dana Lem Reeses, and with me is one of the best co-hosts imaginable, Miss Resnick herself. Jamie, say goodnight. Good morning.
Good morning.
What time is it, Jamie?
It is 9:04 a.m.
Monday?
on Monday, March 2nd, 2026.
Looks like somebody's got a case on the Monday.
Somebody does.
Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Dan.
So this is the second segment. What time is it?
It is.
9/11.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It's 9/11. What a coincidence. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to tell you right now is not for the faint of heart. What I will describe to you is the real experience that I had to endure over the last week or so. Starting on the 19th,
Yes.
I believe it was.
Yes,
So let's go into a fresh page, and today is
the second.
3/2/2026. And as you can see, Jamie, I've taken over all of my business affairs. Is that correct?
100%.
Now, what you're going to see is a knowledge transfer where Ms. Resnick is going to be required to do rudimentary administrative tasks as part of my analog automation process. That analog automation process will be perfected over the course of 2 weeks. 2 weeks to automate. Because looking at this entire process, running it through a manual filter, making decisions on a daily basis is not conducive to the best, most optimal outcome, which is not only winning, but minimizing the resources, including time and money, as well as stress, that we utilize to get the results done. That being said, let's go through the it's called 4 Weeks in Hell. Or let's call it 31 Days in Hell. And what we need to do is, the equation is, we need to take hell and turn it into help and turn that into host. And that will equal money plus up standard of life equals happy face. Okay? Now that's the stupid equation. AM, which means applied math, in case anyone cares. Now, this is the way my brain works. I'm dealing with a set of circumstances which most people would find to be absolutely revolting and impossible to undo. Given the fact that I have been displaced, my business has been taken away from me, my ability to earn an income has been completely destroyed, and I have not seen my children in 8 months. This would lead a normal human being to do something erratic, irrational, and detrimental to the greater good of everyone. But alas, once again, I will remind you, my name is Dana Lamresis, and I do the impossible. I do what you do not expect, and I will never do anything that you believe is in your best interest. I will only do things that are in the best interest of both my children, myself, and the people that are good, not the people that suck. There's a clear line between good people and the people that suck. That line has been drawn over the last year, given the way people have acted. Shitty people have continued to act shitty, and good people have risen to the top and shown who they truly are. Although there are very few that are outspoken and are actually adamant about how immoral and wrong the circumstances that are being conducted against me are, there is a silent majority that is brewing in the background and is waiting for my command to say that it is time to rise and stand up for the truth. I do not believe in violence. I do not believe in revolutions unless they are something called the logic revolution. There's only one logic revolution, that is the one that I have created. And, excuse me, Jim, can I please have some antacid? And the logic revolution stems from not violence, not fooling people, not money, and definitely not by hurting or bullying people. The logic revolution is a natural process that will come about through our society once we start to recognize the detrimental effect that both social media and unfiltered access to personal electronic devices has had on our children's brains. That is one of the biggest mistakes that we as a society have made. Over the last 80 years. Before that, the whole Hitler thing really had the cake. But given the circumstances of what's about to happen, I would actually attribute the unfiltered use of personal electronic devices during the time where a child's brain is supposed to be developing as one of the worst, most catastrophic events to have ever happened to our society. You will see this later on in life, and unfortunately it's a little too late for me to do anything about that. But if you are interested in such great hits as the solution for Alzheimer's or solution for such issues as the human rights violations and a slew of other things, I wrote them down here.
Just the hits.
Immigration, labor shortage, crime, gang youth, corruption, human rights violations, and education. These elements can easily be resolved by using the micro business slash sociological experiment known as Project Host. Project Host is the reason why I'm filming this, is because first I have to identify the problem. So let's begin. Jamie, why don't you ask me a series of questions about what happened? I came in on Thursday.
Okay. Well, why don't you start at the beginning? You pull up to
I pull up.
Essex County Correctional Facility.
Well, you pull up to Essex County Correctional Facility. It's a Sally Port. We go in and you get the pompous, arrogant law enforcement and local officers that are dropping me off as some sort of a prize to the jail. The jail is very cool. They're they're dealing with this all the time, so they're not really impressed by anything. There's about a half dozen law enforcement officers, corrections officers. Some are intake, some are on break, some are supervising, but essentially intake and release is in the same place. So it's very important for everyone to understand that the control valve for when inmates go in and out of prison is in the same location.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just a different side of it. So essentially, if I had the whiteboard, and I might go downstairs and do the whiteboard as part of this entire thing, just to show the geometry. Once again, not to escape, but to educate. I gotta tell you something. To escape that jail is virtually impossible.
I bet.
And what makes it even more difficult is the proximity to both everything and nothing at the same time. So
It's a great way to describe that.
one of the only ways to really escape is to make sure that you have a truck that is ready to take on both diversions and you as a person, because the quantity of faceless and nameless trucks that go back and forth truly is astounding. But to remove a body in a controlled environment like that is extremely difficult. And I am not going to give anyone any pointers or hints, but I assure you, I saw a lot of flaws in the system that rather than addressing the one or two human beings that may or may not escape, the level of security to guarantee the safety of the officers as well as making sure that people don't escape far exceeds the necessity to make the violations that egregious, meaning that the human rights violations are justified by safety and no ability to escape. Well, once you get to a point where a person can't escape, they can't escape more not escaping, meaning that it's a zero. Like once you get to a point where, all right, people can't get out, you need to start to focus on other things than making sure that they can't get out. Now, one of the biggest issues that I'll talk about right away and I'll describe to you right away that does not happen. So you see, Thursday.
So when you get there and you go into intake, are you in a room with everyone else who's been
Great question.
brought there
So
for the
there's
day?
a cell, and first you get your vitals taken, basic questions, make sure you're classified okay to go into a general population, because you're going to go into a bullpen where, like, Elizabeth is a different county, but like Caldwell will drop off an inmate. Newark will drop off inmates all day long. And, it's itchy. So what happens is they collect inmates over the course of one shift, about 8 hours.
Okay.
And during that
So
shift,
everything is really shift based.
it's shift based, and it's based on the next step. Everything's always the next step. Like, what is the next step?
Right.
So the next step is you get your armband and you get photographed and you go into the system.
Okay.
And that's a very important process because that really gives you an SBI number.
Do you get your outfit?
Not
your
yet.
Uniform?
Not
Your
so
outfit.
fast. Not so fast. First, you get your SBI number, which stands for serial block ID. I don't remember something. SBI number is.
SBI number, State Bureau of Identification number.
State Bureau of Identity. So the SBI number is a very important process. I believe the Nazis I believe the Nazis identified human beings via a tattoo on their arm. This is a very similar process where you get an armband with a picture. I opt to constantly smile in my images because I believe that these images are forever. Like when you Google my name, you see all these images. It's me smiling. There's no reason why a human being who found himself to be alive at a moment where law enforcement with guns and badges wanted to do harm to him did not end up killing him. So to me, I was really happy that this incident ended up with me being safe in Essex County.
Yeah.
And that's how extreme the situation has gotten. That my safety is so at a risk that I am happy just to be alive. Now,
So you get your number, you get your SBI number, and
well,
you
just
get...
wait. Now remember, the people that are coming in are half dead. Some are drunk, some stink off the streets, and we all get thrown in, and it's about 3 to 8 people get put into a cell about 3 times the size of this cubic space over here. And there's 2 long benches, a steel toilet at the end, and you get thrown a sandwich through the door by whatever officer. The sandwich, now let's talk about the food that you get. You get 4 pieces of bread and 4 pieces of bologna. The bread comes in the 4 pieces at the center of the 2 of the other. So that means that the dry pieces and the more wet pieces are completely out of balance. You get 1 condiment, 1 packet of mustard, no mayo, no cheese. Now, even though there's no government cheese, you still, bologna sandwich with no cheese is very hard to eat. But when you're starving, it is what it is. You also get state cookies, which is 4 barely digestible chocolate cookies with a vanilla crunch. And they're not that bad smelling. They taste like sugar, but your body will not thank you later.
I was just gonna say, do they clog you up?
Clog me up. Undigestible means that. Undigestible, meaning that, well, it is what it is. This time around, since I have become an absolute expert at going into jail, but never making it out of quarantine. So before I even begin the story, let me explain to you the basic rules.
Wait, does everybody eat their sandwich?
Well, some people haven't eaten in days. They're like running in the streets and stuff. No, the answer is not
No.
everyone. Everyone chooses to.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it depends on who you are. For me, it's hard for me to start eating state food for a couple of days. I try to do my best to. I was hospitalized, so I tried to stuff my face full of like tuna and anything else that they had at St. Barnabas Hospital. That's not why I went there, but when I was there, I had to really do the best I can. And remember, this is survival mode. When a human being finds himself incarcerated, Jamie, do you have any of that lip stuff?
Oh, yeah.
What is it called?
Aquaphor.
Oh, Aquaphor. That's what it's called. When a human being finds himself at the mercy of a system that is truly designed to protect the innocent, but I'm innocent and I'm being arrested. So psychologically, it's extremely difficult to go through. And the concept of really understanding that you are at a point where people are willing to abuse the oath that they have taken to hurt you. And that's how important the things that I have to say are, that people are willing to risk and sacrifice all these things that can truly end with them hurting themselves and losing their jobs and even worse, getting arrested. But they put all that aside. Can I have a napkin? I can't. Thanks. They put all of that aside in order to flex nuts and have me unlawfully arrested. So SBI number is given, and that SBI number goes with you throughout forever. And I don't remember, I believe it's a different SBI number than I had 15, or actually it was 20 years ago when I was arrested. I haven't been arrested in New Jersey in 20 years since this.
I wonder.
That's wild. And I can't believe that my arrests for marijuana, in New York City I was arrested for marijuana and something even less. And it's really incredible. Oh, I got something over here? Okay.
There you go. Better.
It's really incredible that I actually started to believe that I did something wrong, when in reality the crimes that I committed are in subject matter of something that is fully legal right now, nor would any human being ever suffer the type of punishment that I suffered at the time that I did. And the stigma of the punishment was far worse, because you have to remember that marijuana is not like heroin or crack. Marijuana was a part and is a drug that is engaged in the majority of the community, especially the affluent community that does not partake in harder drugs. So it was very difficult for me to watch an entire society of parents, friends, and everyone else turn their backs against me when I got into trouble for selling marijuana. But when I had it, everyone partook in it and everyone enjoyed it. And that's one of the reasons why I get so frustrated with my brother. And that leads me to wrap up this segment.
Okay.
And I will express to you that the difficulties of what I'm about to tell you is the true horror nature of exactly why it is inhumane, and there are endless human rights violations in this county. But I will tell you a really funny story of why I get so frustrated with my brother, is because he is fully aware that everything I'm saying is true, and rather than standing up for his own brother, he chooses to opt to hide in the shadows because it might affect his way of life. He is one of the most selfish human beings in the world, but my father has clearly said to me that I need to put my ego to the side and apologize and humble myself, and that is what I will do, because my father is a good man and he asked me for very little. But when he asked me for it, I say I will do it. He came to me in a dream. I choose to accept that dreams and reality are very different. But if a human being chooses to use any motivation they can to do good, there's no reason for anyone to disprove what they're about to say. Now here comes the story. One of my things that I was able to do is that since I was really young and motivated and entrepreneurial, I found this guy Abdul and Ahmed, who were two Arabic gentlemen who owned one of those New York gift shops. And in the back they had one of those ID like machines that they can pump out fake IDs really, really quickly. And the IDs looked good and they worked, and they were quote state IDs. So my brother came home from college.
It was before they needed that like emblem on it. Much easier.
It had an emblem.
Oh, it did?
It had a hologram.
It did. Oh, wow.
These guys really,
real deal stuff.
Yeah, it was quite illegal.
So your brother came home from
college?
Remember,
it was right before 9/11.
So it was 96?
Like, Arabs making fake IDs was not allowed after September 11th. I don't know why. But pre-September 11th, it was very easy to get. And there was a lot of people that are... and in honor of Ramadan, I want to say that there's a lot of honest, hardworking human beings that are Arabic that may or may not engage in an activity that you might not find to be okay, but they're not terrorists and they're not looking to hurt anyone. And the majority of people who practice Islam and are Muslim are not bad people. And it's a misconception that really needs to end immediately. So the further the American media chooses to unilaterally side with Israel without recognizing the imbalance in projecting one-sided narrative images, without expressing that there are other human beings that are suffering at the hands of the parties that are dominant. And this is coming from a Jewish man who has given his life to protecting both the state of the United and the Israeli-American relationship has truly been a very, very difficult thing to justify while trying to balance the equity of power between the three major religious groups, non-secular religious groups, as well as agnostics and atheists. Human beings who pride themselves in believing nothing are just as important as those that believe in God. So by the geopolitical landscape shifting to an imbalance of overstimulating the relationship between America and Israel and understimulating the relationship between the Arabic states, you create a paradox that is filled by truly unscrupulous people like the Minnesota affair and other political figures that take advantage of the poor understanding and lack of education as to the reality and the biological similarities between the Jewish nation and the Arabic nation. Happy Ramadan, Merry Christmas, Sei gesund, Kishen Tuchis. I love you all. Now, I want to actually express to everyone that the reason why...
you didn't finish your fake ID story.
Oh, yeah.
And you left off at SBI. So are you leaving off at SBI number?
So let me tell you the fake ID. Let me tell you the fake ID story. Let me tell you the fake ID story, okay? You know, I always say, like, pay attention, eyes open, you know, things like that.
Yes.
My brother Mark is the complete opposite of a human being. And not only that, he actually fights with me. And this story is 100% true. And this is why I actually love my brother, is because that we make a really good team together. And he needs me in certain aspects where he did. And I really needed him. And it's a real shame that it was, you know, external factors and the women in our lives that drove us apart. Mom, Vicky, Mal. Look, Dad would have been fucking furious if he was alive and saw exactly what's going on. So when I do speak in front of the camera, I'm not speaking directly to Mark, but I'm also not speaking to Mark, because last time I checked, I'm allowed to fully communicate with any human being that I want, as long as there's no documentation or some sort of a illicit court order that I have to abide by. So that being said, check this out. Mark comes home from Duke University freshman year. He is 18 years old. I am 14 years old. Okay? This is somewhere around Thanksgiving break. Mark wants to go to the clubs, but he's 18 and you need to be 21 to go to the clubs. So I'm like, Mark, let's go to the city. And he actually drove us to the train, and we went from Harrison and we took the train. And I was like, look, I got a guy. He'll make us the IDs. So I'm like, Mark, just do me a favor. Give me the money. I'll take care of it. He's like, no, I'll pay for it. It's okay. And I'm like, okay. And there are like 4 people that are in line. And I'm like, Mark, just don't do anything. Just wait until I'm in front of the line. And I'm like shooting the shit, talking to Ahmed, you know, like doing my thing because they're like my friends. And Mark gets up to the front of the line, and I'm like, all right, this is my brother Mark. And Mark's like, all right, you know, I already told the guy. And Ahmed's like, what guy? And Mark's like, well, the guy I gave the money to. He's like, who'd you give the money to? He's like, oh, there was a guy that said that he works for you, and he was collecting money so that I could reserve the spot, so I gave him the money. And Abdul goes, I am the only person that works here. And here, it's me and my brother. And I'm like, Mark, did you just give money to a homeless guy that said he worked here? Mark's like, no, I gave it to the guy that he's right here. Well, he's not here now, but he was right here. I was like, how much did you give? He's like, $60. I go, the ID is $50. He said that if I gave him an extra 10, I would go next.
Stop it.
I swear to God.
What did you do?
Well, I was so embarrassed for Mark that I actually paid for the ID. Because you know what it is? When you are suckered and you're the older brother in Midtown, and that's how, because you know, Mark went to Duke and he comes from this like world where people want to like help you or something. I was raised in the streets. Newark, Livingston, Russia, Italy, markets, whatever you want to call it, okay? But
That's amazing.
I couldn't believe, because the thing is, and I saw the guy lingering, and I'm always like, you know, you ever see me with people?
Very quick.
Yeah, I'm very quick. I don't ignore homeless people or solicitors. I'm very much, no, you're getting nothing. And usually they get very much attached to me and my persona of being direct, because they're usually working off of social fears And human beings that are in the business of procuring guilt and money through people that are unsuspecting, those humans are known as grifters, and the other people, they're known as suckers. And a sucker is simply someone who doesn't understand all the rules of the land. So, for example, one of the reasons why for a very long time you had to wear your watch on your right hand when you were in did you know why you had to wear your watch on your right hand?
No. I never
Because
heard
when
this.
you're driving in a South American country and the window is open, the kids can take off your wristwatch so fast
Yeah.
that whatever. So for a long time, they taught people to put their watch on the right hand. And then a very young, smart, enterprising young man in a Cuban country was able to figure out the following move. So what he was able to do was very quickly take a cigar and burn a human hand. So the other goes, ah! And while it's covered, it's fully open and exposed, and they would take
Stop.
the wrist off.
Wow. Sneaky move.
So these types of things were actually a part of a book that I wrote, and I pitched it to my brother during my friend Yuri's wedding in Pirenópolis, Brazil. I have thousands of these stories that truly culminate in a brilliant arc, and that is my father's name, Arkady. And for his birthday, I've prepared something that is absolutely impossible, which is I've created a circumstance where I meet my father on an airplane. I know you won't understand what that is, but it took me a really long time to present this gift. And this gift is from my father to to his grandkids, all four of them. Because what I wanted them to do is to really understand and experience the best parts of my father as if he were alive 10 years after his death. His birthday is coming up, so there is no greater gift that I could have given to him, as well as my two nephews, as well as my two boys. When they get older, they'll understand. And please understand that this is one of the primary reasons why everyone hates me, is that during a time while you expect me to do some sort of an abstract and really mean thing, I will end with the SBI number process, because I need to make sure that the automation of my cases is documented. And although I do want to talk about jail, most likely what I'm going to do is have to focus on my work-related matters and save the amazing jail stories as little vignettes of being peppered in. And the goal behind all of this is really to utilize first the experiences, then launch a proposal, which then I would like to see how far that goes. And I want to state by saying that I'm not some sort of a jail reformist. I'm just simply a dude that watched something in absolute horror, and having the resources and the brains that I do, and given the fact that I am going to be absolutely vigilant in getting all of my real estate back. So for example, I no longer look at my real estate portfolio as 30-something buildings. It is one entity, the real estate of Daniel M. Reeses. 2, I do not look at all my cases as this unsurmountable and shower ruining. I call it shower ruining is because when you have that much work that is so confusing, it ruins your shower in the morning. All you could think about is all that. You agree with me?
Totally.
All right, so I'm never going to have another shower ruined in the morning because I only have one case.
Like
That is the case of Daniel M. Reeses.
Yeah.
So the complexity of that case is the reason why it's such a special case. But each one of the actual separate litigations are part of the one case. I have one client. So by being able to compartmentalize and truly isolate the separate matters and have them locked in and have control over them, it creates a psychological advantage to the player that is dealing with the player. Look, ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a break. Enjoy the segment that you're about to watch, which is nothing more than what you've already seen. This is the final few seconds of the intro. The rest will be videos that I put up throughout the day, a final episode, as well as the first chapter in something called the Book of Daniel, which I have been working on for the better part of 35 years, ever since I realized that no one will ever understand anything I'm saying, and unless I create my own language, literally and figuratively, and utilize your favorite words, I will never be actually understood. My name is Daniel M. Reeses, and with me today, and hopefully as always, in the legaltainment aspect, is Miss Jamie Resnick, who is an incredible friend, an amazing mother, and truly an unsung hero and victim in all of this, because I have grown to become stronger, more agile, more fit, and I will need to now go into a very strong workout regimen because I finally can. Since by the complete reduction of the amount of cigarettes that I take, I'm able to finally breathe. And the toxins in my life are gone. And the human that you will meet is a different human being. And although that I have been separated for a significant amount of time, until I finished the project on 3/1/26, I was not comfortable enough to say, my name is Daniel M. Rhesus, and I am not legally blonde.